Welcome. Thank you for listening to this message from Garden Valley Church. For more messages, please visit our website at gardenvalleychurch.org.
I love prophetic. Absolutely love the prophecy. I could do it all day. I may not be the world's greatest at it. Patty Amston's definitely got it one up on me, but I love it because it reminds people that they're not forgotten and that God knows them. Feels good, doesn't it? Like to be reminded that God sees you where you're at. He hasn't forgotten you. And he's got a plan for you, right? You know, I remember, I think it was 2019, we had a gladiator camp. Any men been to gladiator camp in here? Not very many, so we're going to have another one and get you guys into it. And it's just a real intense time of men just getting their worlds rocked by God. And I remember Pastor Kurt was there, and if you've never been ministered to by Pastor Kurt, most of you might not know who he is, but I tell you what, when that guy begins to start to prophesy over you, you just get the napkins, get the Kleenex, get the towels, whatever you need to just mop up the mess. And I remember as we're sitting there, I wrote this thought out, and there's a couple thoughts, so I'm just going to read them. I said, sitting here watching the men, listening to Kurt reveal words of knowledge, allowing men to realize that they are known by the Father. The tears in the room cannot be held back, not even by the biggest of men. It's amazing how a man responds when he realizes he's known. As men, we have a deep desire to be known by our Father. And when we realize that we are known, really known, we're shook to our core. There isn't a man that doesn't want to be known. Oh, what it feels like to be known. What it feels like to know and realize that we have not been forgotten. And it's true for all of us, right? What it feels like to know that God knows us and that we are known and that we're not forgotten. All of us, within all of us, we have this strong, passionate desire to be known, don't we? How many in here like to be known? I mean, you're crazy if you didn't raise your hand on that. But it's not just to be known, right? Like that superficial kind of knowing, like people know who you are by name, but they don't really know you. Like, we don't have a passion for being just kind of known. We want to be really known. That's what friendship really is. Like, you know, we have friends, but then we have those friends. The friends that know everything about us. And it's those relationships that really feel like the real deal, right? Like, those are the ones that we could say, that's really my friend. The rest of them, yeah, they're friends, but they don't know every part of me. And we become full and alive in our friendship with them. And unfortunately, oftentimes in our desire to be known, we end up looking in all the wrong places for it. It was kind of how the song kept on going through my head, looking for love in all the wrong places, right? And one of the most common places today that I have found that we tend to look for love, social media. It's actually become a pandemic now. If you we have our own pandemics, COVID and all that, but the one we don't ever really talk about is social media. And I was watching a video the other day, a movie, and it was called The Social Dilemma, and it was just talking about the need for people to be known. And the reality that social media wasn't doing it for them, and how it was crushing people and causing people to commit suicide and to go into extreme depression. They say that now we probably face a greater depression than we ever have in society because of social media. It's actually done the opposite, right? The thing that we thought it would do, it isn't doing. See, people are looking for relationship and intimacy and connection on social media. They're looking to be known and valued in something that actually isn't giving them anything. Social media, see, it imitates relationship. It imitates connection. It makes us feel known without really being known. We can hide behind fake filters, like, big eyes, little mouth, pretty face. It's not you, but it looks awesome. We can hide behind fake posts. Look at my food. Look at my exciting life. Right? And we can have hundreds of thousands of friends. I was looking at my Facebook yesterday. I decided I'm curious how many friends I had. And, I'm not like most of you. I'm not that popular. I had maybe over 600 friends. And I know for a fact that people in here have way more than that. And I realized as I started scrolling through the friends, I'm like, I don't even think I know some of these people. I don't even know where they came from. I don't know them. And I'm pretty sure they might maybe know me by name, but I doubt they really know me, right? Anybody else have friends in their Facebook thing that you probably I'm not really sure who they are, but somehow they ended up on my thing? Okay, it's kind of the thing to do, isn't it? People request your friend and you don't even think about it. Yeah, sure, whatever. I'll be friends with you. And we think we have friends. The reality is I'm really bad at Facebook, so if you friended me, I'm sorry. I'm just going to get that out there right now. My story or feed or whatever, I can't even remember the last time I posted on it. So don't expect a good friendship from me on Facebook. It's just going to bum me out, okay? See, it's because of this lack of intimacy and superficial intimacy that we find ourselves constantly striving for acceptance and value. The more likes we can get, right? The more hearts that we can get on our pictures, the more views, or that one great picture. It's funny, you see people, taking pictures and they're constantly retaking the photo. Oh, wait, I didn't get the right angle. I didn't get the camera high enough. Wait, I got to get it over to my side. My wife always tells me, you got to be on this side because this is my good side. I'm like, well, what if I have a good side, right? Doesn't matter, apparently. Have you ever watched somebody in the restaurant taking a selfie? They make the funniest faces. I laugh every single time. And you're like, if you saw that in real life without the filter, you would never take that picture, right? But it's fake. We do all this with an intention that if it's perfect, if I can take the right picture or take the right video, then maybe I'll be liked more. Maybe I'll be known more. Maybe people will see me and I'll have more value. We thrive on it, don't we? I admit it. I've done the same thing. Did videos and had to take 100 videos because I could never get it right or perfect. And then did you ever take a picture or a video and then you stalked it every 5 minutes to see if you got one more view or one more like or how many more views you got? And then every hour, and then every day, and then you go back to it a month later just to see if you got a few extras? Don't lie. I know you did it. I've done it. It's validating somehow, right? Somehow when you get 100 views or something, or you cross whatever those thresholds are, something in you feels validated about who you are. I'm cool now. I've got 100 likes on this thing. I'm awesome, right? I am accepted and I am known. Ever had one that you did and nobody liked it? And then you're like, should I just take it down? That must have been a really bad picture, right? And it does the opposite, right? It just tears us apart. What are we really looking for? Again, we want to know if people see us, if they really know us. And somehow, I think we hope to fill some sort of void that we have. Hoping to erase, the feeling of not really feeling known anymore. And unfortunately, no matter how much we scroll, click, like, look, we're never really satisfied, are we? That's why we keep on doing it over and over and over again. And true intimacy ends up being replaced with a superficial intimacy that never gets fulfilled. Now I realize not all you are Facebook people or social media people. Like I said, I'm really not. So social media wasn't really a thing for me. For me, it wasn't how many likes I could get. But I definitely found for myself a different place for false intimacy. For me, it was pornography. See, I grew up with pornogaphy. I remember the first time I found a magazine in a ditch as a kid. And then it just never seemed to go away. I felt like I was like some sort of magnet, and these things just kept on showing up in my life. And everywhere I went, I'd find it. Like it was just there all the time. And it became this thing for me, and I was just totally addicted to it as a kid and throughout my adult life. And somehow for me, it filled at the time a void. Somehow pornography, it made me feel valued, connected, and intimate, even if only for a little bit. And as I got saved, it didn't go away. As a Christian, it was still there. I found myself constantly drawn back to it, addicted to this false intimacy and relationship. I knew it was wrong. That was obvious. Especially as a Christian, once you kind of cross over that threshold, all of a sudden, some things you used to do that didn't really maybe feel so wrong, now all of a sudden feel really wrong. And there's this conviction that begins to happen in your heart. But I couldn't change what I was doing. I was just constantly drawn back to this thing. Constantly still finding myself addicted to the temporary false sense of intimacy that it provided me. Honestly, I think about it, it was really intimacy without effort. I didn't have to try for it, right? It required pretty much absolutely nothing from me. It was so much easier to find myself mindlessly clicking away. We do the same thing with social media or any other thing, right? It just takes no effort. Ever go to Facebook? You start scrolling? This is one of the reasons why I quit Facebook. You start scrolling and you scroll and you scroll, and then you just keep on scrolling. And then you look up at some point and realize the house is on fire. You left the kids at school, right? The microwave, whatever you put in there is so long cooked by now, it's over, right? Like in hours have gone by. And you're like, what in the world happened? Where did all my time go? Ever do that? You just wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened? One day I found myself doing my thing and found myself super empty because, pornography, it'll just leave you empty, right? So will Facebook. And I remember asking God, I need to get out of this. I want to be free from this. I don't want to do this anymore. It's not making me feel any better. What do I do? And of course, God responded. And I believe that this is a word, not only for me in the moment, but I believe it's a word for you now. Maybe pornography isn't your deal. Maybe Facebook's not your deal, but you probably have a deal. You probably have something. Maybe fishing's your deal. Just saying, right? Who knows, right? I want to hear this, and I really want you to listen to this, please. Because these were the words of the Lord to me, and I believe they're words of the Lord to us. First he said, and I have this up, you long for intimacy with me, but you're looking for it in the wrong place. And then he said, when you find intimacy with me, you'll no longer need intimacy with that. See, I was exchanging intimacy with pornography for intimacy with God. See, what I really wanted was to be intimate with God, but I was shortchanging it with intimacy with pornography. And whatever your thing is, you may really want, like, God, I really want to be intimate with you. I really want to be close to you. And yet, something has found its way in that has shortchanged your intimacy and stopped you short of being intimate with God. You now just became intimate with it instead. See, I took the easy route. I didn't have to get up early to look at porn. I could do it whenever I wanted, wherever I wanted, and it was super easy. It was just there. I didn't have to read, right? I didn't have to read my Bible to look at porn. I didn't have to pray. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to be there. I had to show up. And barely that. Half the time it'd show up for me. See, the devil makes it easy. He makes it easy for us. The Bible says, wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction. It's an easy path. He wants to make it as easy as possible for you to miss out on intimacy with God, for you to miss out on your sonship with Him. See, my freedom from false intimacy and my freedom from pornography, your freedom from fishing, was and still is directly connected to my intimacy with Him. My answer? Just more of Him. That was it. It was simple. It wasn't 5 steps and a don't do this and don't do that. It wasn't tons of counseling. Now, I'm not saying don't do some of those things. You might need to take care of some stuff. I needed to take care of some things that were also a problem for me that led me to those things. But ultimately, for me, God was like, just find me. Just find me. You won't want that anymore if you got me. It was Him that would satisfy my thirst. I mean, we all have a desire to be intimate. Every one of us here have a desire to be intimate with the Father. It's built into us. John 4:13-14. It's obviously a really familiar verse. We've all heard it before. It says, Jesus answered, if you drink from Jacob's well, you'll be thirsty again and again. Again and again. But if anyone drinks from the living water I give them, they will never thirst again, and will be forever satisfied. That word satisfied is used other times in the Bible. It means to be fulfilled. That we would be forever fulfilled in Him. For when you drink the water I give you, this is awesome, it becomes a gushing fountain of the Holy Spirit, springing up and flooding you with endless life. False intimacy, from wherever you get it, or wherever you find it, will always lead you back to it again and again and again, because it'll never actually satisfy you. It'll never fulfill you. Pornography never satisfied me, albeit for maybe 2 seconds, the one glass of water, and then it was empty. And I found myself going back to the well to get another drink because I ran out. It's addiction. I mean, that's what addiction is, right? Addiction causes you to go back to the thing that you once had because it didn't fill you in the first time, so maybe the second time it'll fill you. And we keep on being drawn back, constantly needing more to be fulfilled. But eventually more doesn't seem to cut it anymore. That's why we see people who start out in pornography ending up in places that they never thought they'd go. Men who probably never thought they'd get stuck in pornography. Probably just were looking in the ads at Kmart and then ended up realizing, well, I'm going to look at something a little bit worse and a little bit worse, and that's not satisfying me anymore. I need more. I'm still thirsty. I need more. And then they find themselves in the strip clubs, and next thing you know, they're buying a date, cheating on their wife, or just so many other things. Because what they had didn't satisfy them. Maybe some of you today, maybe it's not strip clubs and hookers. Maybe it's just your time. Facebook. I was only on it for 5 minutes last week, but this week it's 10 minutes, and next week it's an hour, and next week I don't even know. I've lost track of time, or maybe it's some other hobby. Maybe, like I said, fishing. Maybe fishing. I was only going out for the weekend, and then the weekend kind of passed by, and now I'm out this weekend, and next thing you know that you find yourself exchanging intimacy with God for intimacy with that, whatever that is. And we find ourselves trapped in some sort of cycle, chasing after the wrong things. It's not always an intentional thing. We don't intend to find ourselves there. Nobody intends to look at pornography. Nobody intends to waste hours after hours on Facebook. We just kind of end up there. And not all the things that I said are bad, like pornography, that's bad, like don't do that. But Facebook, okay, find some restraint and check it out. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's only bad when it begins to replace intimacy with the Father. And it begins to rob you of your true intimacy and hinder you of the relationship with Him. Usually we get caught off guard with it, wondering, man, why do I feel so empty, sad, depressed, discouraged, right? We're like, what happened to me? All of a sudden I just feel like alone. Anybody ever just end up there? You're like, I don't know what happened, but man, I'm feeling I just feel bad. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, my life, I would bet you money you could look back and find what's robbing you. So we got to be aware of the things that draw us away from Him, good or bad. One of my favorite scriptures, it's in Song of Songs 2:15. It says, "You must catch the troubling foxes, those sly little foxes that hinder our relationship, for they raid our budding vineyard of love to ruin what I've planted within you." Will you catch them and remove them for me? And my favorite line, we'll do it together. We'll do it together. I love this scripture because it's really, for me, a reminder to be aware of the small things. It's not really ever the big things, right? We don't necessarily get caught off guard by the big stuff. And the devil doesn't play that way. He doesn't bring you some big thing and try to trip you up. He doesn't start you at the end with a prostitute and say, hey, why don't you try this? You're like, what? No. Starts you off with like the Kmart ad. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah? Starts you off with the simple little things, the things that you don't even think about. Starts you off with social media. Just a little bit of time, that's not going to hurt anything. It's these little compromises. See the foxes? The foxes are the little compromises we make in life. For me, I was thinking about it. Like, what were my compromises that led me to pornography? And it wasn't like obvious things for me. It was lack of rest. I was tired. I was working a lot, doing a lot of stuff, and I was tired, not really on my A game. Stayed up too late watching TV. Got stuck in the movies, got stuck in a series. Wasn't able to wake up the next morning because I was too tired. So I missed out on my time with God. I didn't think much of it, so I did it again the next night. Watched too much TV, stayed up too late, couldn't get up with God. And see, it's usually these little compromises that we make that, left unattended, will usually turn into larger compromises. And along with foxes, there comes the evidence of foxes, foxholes. See, foxholes, they're the manifestation of our compromises. They're the manifestation of the foxes in our life. It's the how the heck did I get here moment. What in the world is going on? Why the heck am I so depressed? Why do I feel empty? Why don't I have any more faith anymore? How come I can't even remember the last time I read my Bible? Or wrote in my journal? Or why am I so angry? Why am I addicted to porn again? How did I end up back here again? See, that's a foxhole. That's the evidence of something happened in your life that you made a compromise on, that robbed you of your intimacy with God. Because see, the devil knows if you're intimate with him, you won't be intimate with that. So I'm going to do whatever I can to rob you of that intimacy. I'm going to make you compromise. I'm going to start you small. And I'm going to do whatever I can to hinder your relationship with him, because I know you will never find freedom if you never find intimacy with him. The reality is we all deal with foxes in our life. All of us. We're not immune to it. You're not immune to compromise. You're not immune to making decisions that draw you away from God. None of us are. And I believe that today this is making sense to some people. Today, I really believe it. It was interesting when I wrote this message. I was actually going to write an entirely different message, and as I started typing, this message came out. I'm like, okay. That means that God's on to something. Come on. And I can tell by the silence in the room. There's some people who have some foxholes going on in their life. There's evidence of foxes in your life. There's evidence of compromise in your life. And it's really showing up in your lack of intimacy with him. You've been asking the question, God, I want to be intimate with you, and I want to be close, and I feel like I haven't been able to, and I haven't been close to you, and I just want to be close. But somehow, some reason, I'm not getting any closer. And God says, well, when you come to find me, you will no longer be intimate with that.